Ladies and gentlemen, please make your way to your seats. The show is about to begin.
As five wise women known as the Spice Girls said in their 1996 seminal hit, Wannabe, tell me what you want, what you really, really want. Here's the story from A to Z. It's really important to understand the language of digital. So I thought I would take some time and go through some of the key terms around website and search so that when you hear a term, you'll understand how it's defined and how to use it in connection with your strategy. Let's dive in. An A/B test is something you're quite familiar with. But to recap, it's varying one element between the creative execution of a marketing touchpoint, such as web pages, landing pages, email, SMS messages, direct mail. We often use this when we're trying out new creative or a new layout or even a new creative design. We can vary the hero image, which would be in the carousel, the headline, any of our calls to action to see which perform better, layout and targeting. Now, we use experimental design with this. We vary only one element per test. If we're doing multiple variations, this is known as multivariate testing, and we would need a very specific tool to handle this for us and do the analysis. This is known in a lot of companies as test and learn, so you'll hear A/B test and test and learn kind of interchangeably. It's often split with the largest audience receiving existing creative. Typically, you test multiple times. You don't just assume that one time is conclusive, that one execution is better than the other. When I was at American Express, we typically tested 3 times, and if the test creative performed better 3 times, then that became the new standard. This has been done for years and years, originally with direct mail, but it's something that you'll want to know really well and be able to make recommendations on how to execute. When we talk about abandons, we may be talking about a couple of different things. 1, the exit point that somebody leaves our website, or 2, that they've abandoned their shopping cart. We really want to analyze our abandonments to see what some of the drivers are, if it's something in the customer journey where the consumer's seeing friction, something that we can help. We also want to look at abandons as well for remarketing, so that we know if somebody left on a certain page, do we need to remessage them using a pixel on that page and ad units that maybe they want to revisit it, or especially if they have something in their shopping cart that were close to conversion, but they didn't do it. So abandons is something that we can learn a lot from, but we have to try to minimize. So while I said early on in the course that your precision in your language around digital topics matter, even the best marketers get these confused. Remember back to the platform marketing lecture. An ad network serves as a broker to match advertisers to websites. It literally is just connecting and getting that inventory out. An ad exchange is similar to an ad network, but buyers and sellers come together and there's more transparency into the inventory being transacted. Some examples would be Google Display Network and DoubleClick Ad Exchange, now all part of the Google marketing platform, and uses programmatic buying. That basically means that we're going to automate our ad purchases versus having to manually choose the websites and the locations where we're going to place our ads, where it automates a lot for us. Now, I'll go into more details on programmatic ad buying, but there are some really great synergies and some great ways to see some benefits for the brand, but there are also risks, such as having your ads show up on content that the computer may think is great, but may actually repulse or offend your audience. So ad networks and ad exchanges are very important. I also recommend that you look at the Google Marketing Platform certification. It's free. It's more of an intermediate certification, and it's harder than the other one, but having that knowledge will make you stand apart. Now, affiliate marketing has been around for about 2 decades. I worked on an affiliate program back when I was in industry. Now, the way this works is that you use third parties, individuals and their websites and their digital properties to drive traffic to you. And you can do a cost per click or a revenue share with them for driving that traffic or driving that conversion. Now, today that is often included as part of native advertising or influencer posts. So anybody that's sharing that product information would receive some type of compensation. They have to disclose that there may be an affiliate relationship. Take a look at the text on the right-hand side. This is text that was included on one of the news publisher sites that makes recommendations for products and basically discloses if you click on one of those links and you buy something, they may get a revenue share. New York Magazine does this. I know CNN does something like this. And BuzzFeed has done this for a very long time. So affiliate marketing is still alive and well. It's just many times you will hear about alt text or alternative text. If you've ever hovered over an image and seen text pop up over it, that's actually encoded to describe what the image represents. Now this is coded in HTML for images to help first, visually impaired users understand what the image contains, and this is expressed to them through a screen reader. But it also describes to Google the content of what the image has. If you remember, I've mentioned dark data. One of the things that Google and marketers in general have had a problem with is understanding the contents of a visual. To make it clear, you use alt text. For images to be ignored, you would use the code alt equals and then empty quotation marks. Now this is used for aesthetic images without a content purpose. Now on Canvas, when I use a GIF or something for humor, I'll mark it as a decorative image, and that would automatically set the code to this. You need to make sure that your alt text is short, 125 characters or less. Anything longer in the screen reader just won't work with it. You can link up to another page for an extended description, but that's not considered to be a best practice. Again, this also helps with your image SEO in helping Google's spiders or bots index image properly. So this is a really good way to add to your existing SEO practices, but it's also something really important for accessibility. Now on the right-hand side, I pulled this example from Moz. Moz has a lot of information on alt text and what the best practices are. Good would be a stack of blueberry pancakes with powdered sugar. Bad would be pancakes.png or just the name of the file. So you want to make sure that you take the time to give a description, but don't go too crazy with it. Alt text is very important and it's an easy thing to update. So here's something you see all the time. It's the clickable text in a hyperlink, also known as an anchor text. It's often blue and underlined. There are a bunch of different types such as exact match, partial match, naked link, which shows the link, some generic ones, click here, images, which also would be your alt text. You need to be succinct, relevant to the target page, low keyword density, because if you have all of your keywords that are underlined and linking, you can actually be penalized for it. Now, there's a significant impact on SEO from using anchor text. If you consult resources from SEMrush and Moz, they'll actually recommend that you vary your types of anchor texts and that you do it strategically. So while this is an overview of the different types, you'll really want to do a deep dive if this is an area of interest to you. So one of the marketer's biggest challenges is around the algorithm. And these are basically rules employed by digital companies like Google and Facebook to determine what will be shown to their users, such as which ads or which search results will be shown. With Facebook, which content that's put in organically will be shown to viewers. So when Google does an update that's very important, it's called a core update, and that can update search engine result pages very quickly. Updates are given cute names like Penguin and Panda. This is very similar to what they've done with Google Android with their various firmware updates. But each release will focus on a different type of area, like links or content. A great way to keep in touch and get a better idea of what's happening first is Google's Webmaster Blog. Now, if that feels too technical for you, good places to also go would be Search Engine Land, Search Engine Journal, and Moz. They do a really good job of breaking down the impact of different changes from Google for the algorithms. Now, I'll tell you, it's a little bit harder with what Facebook does. They're not as transparent with these types of updates as Google is. So many of the things I talk about in this class are around automation. We try to program routine tasks to be handled through our marketing technology. There are a lot of different ways we can do this. Google can do automation for us through dynamic search ads, helping us do the creative depending on the context, adding in search extensions and paid ads if we neglected to do so. Placements, bidding, and display times are all forms of automations. Now, marketing clouds also have a great focus on automating recurring touch points like trigger emails based on common user behavior, thank you emails. This can also happen in the business-to-business space. Think about a salesperson out on the road. There are certain follow-ups that they have where they're probably not going to go and rewrite that email over and over again. So if we're really looking at our customer journey and what the next action to nudge the consumer would be, having this type of automation is really important. And remember, a really cool form of automation can be done through artificial intelligence, such as dynamic send time and dynamic channel decisioning, like with the Salesforce Einstein example. Now, here's an element on a website that you see all the time, and you probably never knew the name of it. It used to be that you would see a little plus sign at the bottom inside of brackets, and now you see give feedback, get help, that type of thing on the right-hand side. When you click it, it's going to open up either a new window or it's going to open up in the same browser with a feedback form that asks what your rating is of your experience, to give you any comments, and most importantly, it wants to know, were you able to do what you were wanting to do on that page? It's very important to digital marketers that if you're coming to a page, you're able to transact and do what you want. Remember, we're trying to support a customer journey that's frictionless and seamless. And if customers aren't able to do this, then that's a problem. So at American Express, we used Opinion Lab. You'll also see Medallia, and even Qualtrics can do this as well. We would look at these about once a month, but I'll tell you that they never were a real happy thing to look at, because who's going to leave this kind of feedback if they're having a positive web experience? But it is a great way to be able to see what your problems are and try to fix it. Now, why is it called a bailout? A bailout means that you're in a boat, it's sinking, and you are bailing the water out of the boat. So in a way, we're trying to bail the customer out. So it's a strange little name, but that is a way for consumers to give additional feedback on usability and user experience issues. Now, one of the forms of digital advertising that you're probably most familiar with would be the banner ad. Now, banner ads display on websites, not in search. They vary in size depending on the target site, including on the web and mobile, but standards exist. Ads should be designed in as many sizes as possible. Sometimes ads can be stretched where it takes a smaller image and spreads it, risking distortion. Whenever you see any type of animation or movement or interactivity, that is known as rich media. There are some top styles and sizes that you should know. There are several types of rectangles. The leaderboard would be the one that we know of as the very top banner. And any type of right-hand banner that's super tall, that's called a skyscraper. A term that you're going to hear repeatedly is black hat. You'll also hear the term white hat, which is the opposite. Now, if you ever watched the ABC TV show Scandal, you'll know that the lead character, Olivia Pope, talked about putting on her white hat. She was no longer going to do unethical work or take unethical clients. SEO that tries to circumvent the guidelines from Google to gain better placement, such as duplicate content, keywords hidden in the same color as the page, although nobody does that anymore. Cloaking means telling Google a page has certain keywords that really aren't on the consumer-facing side. Buying links, which means spammy link building. Keyword stuffing, cramming all your keywords onto a page and publishing a bunch of junk content is considered black hat, and Google's actively looking for this as it scrolls the website, as it crawls it with its bots and spiders, and it penalizes black hat SEO tactics. Now, one of the things to be aware of is that if Google's rules change, something that was okay previously may now be considered black hat. So that's one of the reasons why you need to follow the top sources out there to see what the new rules are, because you can have a pretty quick penalty if something you were doing one day is suddenly not allowed the next. So it's one of those things where you really have to stay informed on what the changes are with Google. So bounce rate is a very specific type of abandonment. It's the percentage of visitors that come to your site, visit one page, and click nothing on the page. Bounce is bad, and if you see statistics on average bounce rate, they're usually a gross overgeneralization. Bounce rates vary by different types of site, and we want to look to see what might be causing that. A website can signal to users where they are in the website by using breadcrumbs. So if you think about how you might classify your website, you might have the home page, you might have your products page, then you might have different categories, and then an individual product. So if you had a trail on the website that listed each of those elements, that would be a breadcrumb. That would allow the user to click back into a different level of the navigation without going to the top navigation or using the back button. It's a really good thing for usability, and there's different ways to do it. So I've given some examples that came from HubSpot of DHL, where they do from their DHL Global all the way to Road and Freight. And then with Nestle, where they go from their homepage to responsible sourcing. And then the way that Target would do it would be Target shoes, women's shoes, boots, and then ankle boots. So you can see we're going from the widest part of the website down to the most specific. There's a really good page on HubSpot about breadcrumbs, and it's actually a tactic that I think is really nice.